Shalom, shalom, mishpacha. By Yisrael, wa Yishraya, Nakwa Yehu, Nishayahu, Yishraya here. Alright, I'm gonna do my best on this video. This is another life and death video, but more of the Torah teaching. So I'll do my best to try to put this in perspective for everybody. This is a basic solution and answer for all of the problems of the world and all of the chaos that's going on in America and in different nations and things like that. You want to pay close attention to this. This also connects to American Born Chinese, that Disney show, and it's a direct message to Michelle Yeoh. But for others to, take heed to the message as well. All right, because women have a better ear towards me. Men kind of like hurry it up, get to the point. But we're gonna talk about this is gonna title this the Soul Ownership Force Field, and I was triggered to really to actually go forward and do this video because a sister had posted something on Instagram, and it kind of triggered me to think, why is it that a lot of holy or pious men like myself are hard to approach? What is that nudge or that block that is keeping women from different nations to open up to men like myself, Hebrew men like myself, not even having a clue about the man or really knowing anything like that, just kind of get that nudge to not go forward, like, that too good to be true feel, and then make you doubt and stuff. Like, what is that feel? What is that pull, that nudge just pulling you or keeping you away from going forward? So that's why I called it the Soul Ownership Force Field. Soul as in SOUL. So what is that force field keeping you back? And it is a deception about the Hebrew people in America, as you call Black Americans. There's a lie that people don't know on a global scale that's keeping you back from moving forward. So this video is that, to kind of open that door, that episode 7 of season 1 of American Born Chinese, that part where she slipped up in the office. This is that video. All right, straight going into the Torah. Let's go into talk about first, where do Hebrews start from? Okay, so Hebrews start from Abraham, and we're gonna go into the scriptures and read. Hebrew is properly called Abari, and we'll get into that too. But it start with Abraham, okay? And we'll start there. Abraham, the story goes, Abraham was told by the Most High Creator to leave his family and everything like that. And that's in, what is that, Genesis, or better sheet? What was he told? Oh, chapter 12, verse 1 to 2. He was told to leave his family, his kindred, his country, leave everything that he know. And sorry about that, yo. I got white hairs. So leave everything you know and go to a different land, and I'll make a great nation out of you. So when he said I'll make a great nation out of you, what is that great nation that he made out of him? And we'll start there, and then we'll go deeper into this thing and bring it out for you. All right, that nation is called Abari, okay? Just simple, Abari. But it's more distinct than that because Abraham had many children by different wives. So let's go into Genesis chapter 14, or better sheet, chapter 14. All right. Starting at verse 13, or just verse 13. And it says, and there came one that had escaped and told Abram, at the time his name was Abram, it wasn't changed to Abraham yet, and told Abram, the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and they were confederate with Abram. They were confederate with him. So even though that was like sounding extra right there, the main part of that verse is 13, and was they came to him and told Abram the Hebrew. All right. So when you go into the lexicon, the actual Hebrew lexicon, to find out in Hebrew, the language Hebrew, what Hebrew is, you know. So you go into the Hebrew lexicon to find out what that is, and that is lexicon number H5680. All right. Now I wanna break this down a little teeny bit. I don't have a dry erase board, or else I would get jiggy, but I can't really. So it's spelled Ayin Bet Resh Yod, which is pronounced in their understanding Ibri. All right. But I want to bring it out too that Ishmaelites that call themselves Muslims, they call Abraham with an I. They spell it with an I, as it is here, Ayin, Abraham, Abraham for I. But in the actual Hebrew language, it's spelled with an Aleph, which is Abraham, as it is written in the Hebrew language, with the Abadi language. But you want to go into that distinctively, because when you go into H5680, there there's a good connotation and a bad connotation, or good definition and bad definition. Sorry, to this word. Um, it says, um, well, it says a person from beyond, or one who crosses over, but it's basically just distinctively saying um, one from a higher heaven, a heaven higher than human logic and human understanding. So that's the heaven that they come from, and they come down and they're born through the Hebrew nation. So anybody that comes from heaven majorly comes through the Hebrew nation, because they were the chosen people that the Creator decided He would come through and be the deliverer through, the messengers, the mailmen, whatever you want to call it. So He chose them, and that's what a Hebrew is, but or Abadi is. But there are two definitions, because He had many children from different women. So just in Hebrew in itself, or Abadi in itself, if it's spelled with an ayin, ibri or abri, it would be one who passes away. So one who is fallen from heaven. And then if you spell it with an aleph, abari is one who passes through. You didn't fall from heaven. You're just born and you're just passing through, living your term here, and then you go back home. That's the understanding of an abari, a Hebrew, as they wrongfully call it. Like Nihon, Nihon is wrongfully called Japan. So people keep changing stuff, and then you lose your rights to stuff when you change stuff. But it's called Abadi here. So Abraham is the beginning of the Abadi nation. All right. And the family tree of that Abadi nation is found in Bereshit chapter 10 and chapter 11. I won't go through that because it's long, but it's a genealogy, and it goes through the family lineage to help you understand that the people who call themselves Ashkenazi Jews, they don't come from the line of Shem. They come from the line of Yafet, as you call Japheth. And then Ham is the lineage of the Africans today. Anybody that's not an Abadi. Like I said, Abraham was told to separate himself. So when you go into that, chapter 10 and chapter 11, that's the family tree there. And you want to look into that family tree to get a understanding that, and proof that the rest of what I'm saying is true about the Ashkenazim, or the people that call themselves Jews or Jewish, and they overly do the Holocaust, or overly, looking for cries and tears and sympathy for the Holocaust and stuff like that. And they dwell in our land. They stole our identity, they stole our culture, they stole our land and all the resources that come with it, and they benefit from keeping us in slavery in America, you know. And so it is important to understand this family tree, because they'll pinpoint that and try to pull a card on you to try to claim the land and the nation of Israel when they're not the bloodline. So that family tree helps you understand, who is who, or whatever the case. And you can get the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary. Zondervan, Zondervans, Zondervan's Bible Dictionary, and you look up the word Ham. Ham is the progenitor of all dark races, except for the Negroes. And the Negroes are the Shemitic tribe, the tribe of Shem, which comes down to Abraham, and then Abraham, Yazkak, and Yaakov. Okay, that's how you pronounce their names, Yaakov. And Yaakov's name was changed to Israel. And why? Because he had many sons, and the covenant was passed down through Yazkak, which is the son that Abraham had through Sarah. But Abraham had Uh, four wives in total. Okay. The first wife he had was Keturah. Even though the context can seem off in the English, his first wife was Keturah because Sarah wasn't old enough yet. Then when Sarah got old enough, he started to grow love for her. He started to look at her in a loving way when at first he looked at her like, you know, she's still too young. But when she matured and blossomed and her body grew in and her maturity and her wisdom, her holiness, all of the good stuff grew in, he married her. Then he had another wife that was given to him by Sarah named Hagar, which is where Ishmael come from, and she's an Egyptian. So Ishmael is an Egyptian, which is an African, and he's an Abari. All right, so he's mixed blooded. And then you have uh, the last wife is from Yafet, but I forget her name. So he married one of his the family members of his uncle or the brother of Shem, Yafet, and they are the progenitors of the non-melanated races. So these are the races of those who have no melanin, because what happened in history or whatever the case, they ended up having no melanin because they did a thing. But I'm not to go into what they did, but that's what happened. So they ended up having no melanin, but it was able to be capitalized on, and they started to live pious, and then that's when Abraham took a wife from um, the children of Yafet. So there's four wives, and you can find it in the book of Hasefer Yasher, or the book of Jasher, as they call it, Hasefer Yasher. Um, and that will give you the understanding on that. Uh, so let's go into where Israel started. We're going to go into, let's see, Bereshit or Genesis 25. I'm going to start with 25. 19. All right, and it says Bereshit or Genesis chapter 25, verse 19, and it says this: and these are the generations of Yitzchak, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Yitzchak. All right, so it's talking about Yitzchak here because the covenant is passed down to Yitzchak, not the other Hebrew children of Abraham, which is one of them is Eliezer, the servant's son. It just says that he's a servant, but he's the servant's son. One of the sons that is not of the covenant, but is of Keturah. You had and like I said, you had Ishmael, but Ishmael is not talked about here. It's always talking about the one that the covenant is coming through to bring salvation to the world, the deliveryman, the chosen people to save the whole planet. That's why I was talking about specific people here. So that, and let's jump down to verse 25, and it says this: and the first came out red all over, like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So Yitzchak had a child through Ribkah, his wife Ribkah, which was his cousin, and that's allowed. But I'm not going into a Torah parsha on that. I have a video on my YouTube about who you can marry, who you can't marry when it comes to relatives. You can marry kin, but not near kin, and who is near kin and who is kin. Like Barbie and Ken. It's understand the America know the Bible. They just be hiding it and stuff. But yeah, so yeah, he married this cousin, and it's allowed to do that. And the Torah is not a sin. 25. Yeah, so 25. And the first. Let's start from the top. And the first came out red, all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So that means he came out brown, or he just kind of looked like, a lighter complexion, like maybe close to albino complexion, but he had black features or whatever the case, something like that. Is the description here. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Yaquub. And Yitzchak was 80 old when he bore them, or when he bare them. So Esau and Yaquub are twin brothers, okay? And a lot of Hebrew Israelites or Abarim Yisraelim or Yashra'alim, they love to sit on the string quarters and say Esau is this and Esau is a white man, all this bullcrap. But what they're failing to explain to the people is that Esau being Edom, the son, the father of Edom, the Edomites, is twin to Yaquab. So they're twins. So they came out of the same father and the same mother seed. So they are 100% twins of the same blood. So they would not be of, any other type of blood. So that's, they kind of need to, calm down on that and really explain it instead of just move emotionally on that, just in case you hear them on the street corners and stuff. So you saw it here that Esau came out first, then Yaquab came out next. Even though they are two separate nations today, which is explanatory, you grow, you have children, you do your own thing, but they still came out of the same father and mother, okay, biology. So you don't discredit that. They are brothers by blood. But Esau was not chosen because the Creator hated him, because he knew the ways of the Most High Father. He knew the freshwater way, but he had a evil intent in his heart, and he just kind of like wanted to do his own thing. So in front of his father, he would seem to be holy, but he would take advantage of certain little things in the Torah to try to do evil, like tithes and offering and things like that. He would try to penny pinch and find ways to wiggle around fully obeying the Most High Father. And that's what wicked people do. That's what, evil people do. With bad intent, they open the Bible with a bad heart. Why are you opening this Bible up? What do you want to read it for? What are you trying to learn? What do you want to know? What are you trying to gain by opening this Bible and reading it? So you got to be careful about the types of people that crack the Bible open, what kind of heart they have when they open it. And that's the type of pastors and teachers and leaders they become. And they get stuck like that. So next, let's go to Bereshit, chapter 32. Sorry, y'all. 32. Starting at verse 26. And it says this. And he said, let me go, for the day breaks. And he said, I will not let go. All right, so what's going on here? All right, so let me give you the rundown, then I'm going to jump into it real quick. All right, so Yaquub is about to meet his brother Esau because he's taking his wives away from his uncle, blah, 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 blah. And so on the way, he meets a man that's trying to help him get his flock across the river, or get his flock across the creek or whatever it is. So he needed that help, but, it seemed to be that the man was playing with Yaquub, but Yaquub found out that this man was an angel. He was Mikael, the Achma'ach, as you call Michael the archangel wrongfully. He was Mikael Achma'ach, and so he had an issue with Yaquub, and he came down to see about it, and he came in a human form to mess with him a little bit, to test his heart to see where he was at, but almost over tested him and got left behind and almost fell, messing with him too much. But while he was messing with him, they was wrestling, is what it was. And Yaquub ended up becoming very strong on an equal level with him. So the Most High took away power from Mikael so that he can be on an equal level with him. You coming down from a high form as an archangel or Achma'ach, and you all powerful. But when you come down to the earth, the Most High can take your power away from you, and you can be like a base human. So that's what he did to him, so that Yaquub could have a fair wrestle with him. So Mikael was kind of offset, like, oh snap, he's strong as me. What's going on? So it says this in verse 25, and he said, let me go, for the day breaks. And he said, I will not let you go, except you bless me or increase me or give me a baruka or brakot, whatever the case. So unless you bless me or whatever. And the reason why he was saying let me go is because as soon as the day break, the angel was saying, like, we're going to leave you here when the gate closed. You're just going to be a fallen angel. And that was, Mika himself. And they were purposing to kill him for messing with Yaquub too long. And so he was like, no, let me go. I got to go. So verse 27 says, and he said to him, what is your name? So Mikael the Achma'ach is talking to Yaquub and said, what is your name? And he said, Yaquub, because they wrongfully called Jacob. Yaquub. Verse 28, and he said, your name will be called no more Yaquub, but Yashrael, as they call Israel. For as a prince have you power with Elohim, or Allah, as some say in the Hebrew language. But we know it to be Elohim, which is the symbol of the rainbow, which has many powers in one, which is one rainbow. So we say Elohim to include all of the powers of the rainbow. So we just don't say Allah. So, for as a prince, have you power with Allahim and with men, and have prevailed. So his name was changed at the wrestling. So Yaqub's name is also known as Yashra'al or Yisrael. So that's where you get Israel from. His name was changed when he wrestled with Mikael the Akma. All right, so that's that. So we already established so far, and we're going to get to the point. We're going to get to the life and death point to save your life. But you need to know this part first. The same thing that the enemy know, the white people that's messing with you on American-born Chinese, they know these details and facts to the T. And you must know them too, to be able to counter them. They know what's important in life to conquer the world. And you must know what's important in life to save your world, to save your life, to save, blah, blah, blah. So, knowing about Hebrew people or black people beyond slavery, it will save your life. But you not knowing that, you cringe at us, you look down upon us, you frown upon us, you listen to all kinds of other people about what they think about us and stuff like that, and you don't properly, you don't have a proper feel towards us the right way. You don't understand what's going on with us right, but they do, and that's why they have the upper hand on you. All right, so we went so far. Abraham was in Bereshit chapter 14 verse 13. He was called in Hebrew Abari. Okay, and we already went through that. There are two terms, Ibri, as the Jewish people say, Ibri, which would be those who are fallen Hebrews, those who are fallen, not of the pious way. And then you have Abari with an Aleph, which is the one who passes through, and then that is Abari. That's where you get that from. Abari, Hebrew. Then you come next to Israel, which is Yaqub, which is in Bereshit chapter 32, 26 to 28, where he wrestled with Mikael the Akma'ak, and his name was changed from Yaqub to Israel. And after that, he had 12 sons, and they were the 12 sons of Israel, and those 12 sons became the 12 tribes of Israel, and out of those 12 tribes, two special tribes were chosen, Yehuda and Laya. Some say Levi or whatever, but Laya, like a lawyer, Laya, and you have Yehuda. Yehuda is the kingship. Laya is the priesthood. All right. Next is.
There's a place outside you could talk. But here, I don't think.
Next is. I'm gonna try to hurry up because the guy irritated. Give me a second. So sorry about that, yo. I'm almost done. All right, so this is important for your life and death, so you want to hear this instead of cutting me off. Anyway, so yeah, Yehuda. Yehuda is the royal tribe where kings and queens come from, princes and princesses. Then you have Laya, which is the priesthood, where the holy work is done in the temple. All right, so specifically through history, the tribe of Yehuda ended up in America. And there are different books. I don't want to get into it because, there are people who's irritated right now. I don't want to over disturb them. But let's go into the main point of this, which is the main point of all of this is Vayikra chapter 25. Which is Leviticus chapter 25, verse 39 through 46. All right. I ain't even going to read it. I'm just going to tell you real quick. All right. So it talks about a slave versus a hired servant. So there are two differences. It speaks about the Hebrews. Okay. The Hebrews that are not Israelites are the only ones that are spoken of that can be bond servants. They can be bought for a price. Those that are Hebrew Israelites or Abadi Yisraelim, they cannot be bought. They can only be hired for, hired servants. You pay them for their labor and their wages or whatever the case. For their service. And that is the key point that a lot of people don't want to look at. That is the main point that is causing America to keep running over top of the nations of the world. Why nobody can win. Whether it's China, Japan, nobody can win. Nobody can beat them because they don't understand the importance of this fact. that we are not allowed to be slaves. Now, the reason we are slaves is because history states that our ancestors killed the Savior, and they did such a great sin that we ended up in slavery to a different people that is not of the book. However, you have Christians and Jewish people who follow the book, and they claim to be the people of the book, or they claim to have rights to the way. So if they claim in it, then that means they would have to be Abadim Yisraelim, Hebrew Israelites. And only Hebrew Israelites can be hired servants and never bond servants or slaves. Or concubines, which is a female, it's like she's only married to have sex. So she get married to a man and she's married to that man only for intimate sexual needs. The thing that they bank on most is that we don't come back to know who we are. As I showed y'all, in America, Senor Sushi, Spanish people stole sushi, and they made their own store called Senor Sushi. So they're stealing the identity of the Japanese people by taking sushi and saying that it did not originate in Japan. So that's just a stage one of stealing identity. And that's how the worlds are conquered. The same thing happened with us, but we got stretched all the way to the point. If we come back to know who we are as Hebrew Israelite people and no longer Black Americans, then we are now relieved from being called slaves or bond servants to the American people. We would be free from that. That nudge or that tug would be gone. So as for me, the reason why I cannot be checkmated is because I am a rabbi. I've come back to my roots, who I am, as far as my Black side, my Abari Yisr Ali or Yashar Ali side, my Hebrew Israelite side. I've come back to that. And I follow that culture, and I've been ordained, I graduated, I'm a rabbi. And because of that, I can no longer fall under the curse of slavery. So long as I am in America with my people, it's how can I put it? It slowly destroys from inside because we're not allowed to be slaves. Those who are faithful servants, those who have walked away from the culture, who have walked away from their way or just don't know, they're still bound to the curse. So that is that soul ownership. Ignorance or rebellion causes your soul to be owned by Caucasian people, Jewish people, Christians, and stuff like that for not knowing something. So the same thing with China and Japan and everybody else. You need to know that because it's not selective. They are the rulers of evil, and if you follow the way of evil like them, they will own you. They will own you, own your soul. They will be able to put spells on you. They'll be able to checkmate you. They'll be able to keep you from certain people and certain things. So someone like me, you would never think to open up to. You would shun away. And it's all spells, soul ownership. So this is that season 1 episode 7 of Disney's American Born Chinese. That's the reason why they can't hold me any longer. They can't own my soul anymore, because I belong to the Most High Creator, the true Creator, by coming back into the covenant that I belong to. Even though I'm mixed with Japanese, I'm mixed blooded, so I'm Hebrew Israelite and Japanese. But we call it Blackanese or Black Blasian or whatever. So me being of a royal blood in my Black side or my Hebrew side, we're of royalty. but my Japanese side is not of royalty. All right. So I just wanted to lay that down to you, and I'll leave again with the last scripture, Leviticus chapter 25, 39 to 46. The two terms for slave or servant is H5647, which would be, well, it would be like Adonai, Abadai, which is a hired servant. Then you have H5650, which is Ebed, which would be a slave. So they're two different terms, and you want to be careful because Hebrew Israelites are not allowed to be slaves or bond servants or bought by someone if they are faithful in there to the Most High Father in servitude to the Hebrew Israelite culture, etc., etc., and the Hebrew Israelite God, for lack of a better term. We are not allowed to be slaves to anyone. But when people still try, then their nations start to mess up and start to get messed up and stuff like that when they try. Now, Caucasian people, the white people of America, know this. And that is why you can't get around them. That's why Hiroshima happened and Nagasaki happened. And that is why you can't get revenge. You know, bombing Pearl Harbor happened, but you couldn't finish the job. It's because something you don't know about history, something you don't know about the power that they have over you. And this is that right there. The very people that you see all the time, they don't even know themselves, so they can't tell you properly. But someone like me, who do know, can tell you properly. And that's how you win. Following the freshwater way of the Hebrew Israelites and the God of the Hebrew Israelites is the way. Be careful though, because this is new to you. But when you take a chance to follow this way, you will see that power comes, and you will have power over your enemy. You will get revenge for Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The same with China. You'll get revenge. If not, you won't get revenge. They'll keep playing with you. They'll keep toying with you. And slowly your nations will be taken over. So, remember that. Only Hebrews can be bondservants, which are of the other children, of the other wives of Abraham. Keturah, Hagar, and the wife of Japhet. Those three wives that he had children through are the only wives that have children that can be bond servants. They are Abarim. But the Hebrew Israelites that are from Sarah are not allowed to be bond servants, are not allowed to be slaves. And we are Hebrew Israelites. You have to be specific. And they know this. So it's not just being a Hebrew or an Abari. Abari Yishali. So when you read it, when it says a Hebrew servant, bond servant, it's not talking about us. It's talking about our brothers from our other mothers, from different mothers, but the same father. All right? The same with a concubine. Our women are not allowed to be concubines. You can't buy our women and use them for sex services and stuff like that, or can't do that with us when they come back into the cultural way of the Hebrews. So I'll leave it like that for now. I didn't know nobody was in here. I'll leave it like that for now. With that said, shalom, shalom.